everyone. This is Lenard Guzman here with Emily Robinson on the Life After D podcast. We're here on July 13th, 2021. Seems like everyone's going on vacation. The kids are out. Divorces are up or down?
Yeah, they seem pretty busy and up right now. I mean, it's summer, so people are trying to take their summer vacations and have, fun, but summer flies by really quickly. I mean, my kids go back to school in like 3 weeks, I think. So yeah, it goes quick. So, it's been busy. I think people are gearing up for the fall.
So like with like the kids, right? Going to school where you drop them off, it probably puts a strain on like one parent or another to watch. Because kids, it's not like you can just like, oh, I'm just gonna pick up the kids and they can just stay in this room. You have to constantly, it's like a job just watching them. So does that, with like school starting and everything, are like mediations or like, court, like, is it, because that's got to be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a lot of issues with that. Picking the school. Can both parents be at the first day of school, the drop-offs, the pickups? We deal with a lot of that in mediation, but also, people go and litigate it too. The problem with those kind of things is that, unless you know it's going to be an issue far enough in advance, you don't really have time to get into court to deal with it. And people then try to deal with it on an emergency basis, but they can't always because it's not really an emergency. Emergencies are supposed to be reserved for actual true emergencies. So you really have to plan if you're going to have an issue with these kind of things, plan in advance to get to court so that you have the time to be able to get there before school starts and it becomes an issue.
All right. Good to hear. So let's get to the part of the show where we go over the news of the day. This is the part where we'll just see what's trending on Google. We'll see, a lot of times we see celebrity news. That's what's always like at the top of the search. Like today, we got this thing. I don't know if you watch The Simpsons or if you ever have. I think I stopped about 10 years ago, but like Homer and Marge have been married the whole time, and this kind of was like interesting from theguardian.com. A woman trapped in a possibly unhappy marriage, and Marge divorce Homer. Let's just play with this one. Let's see what we get. The Simpsons couple have endured almost affairs, blackmail, and arguments, but a feckless father is also a loving parent figure. So the miraculous thing about The Simpsons is not tremendously longevity, nor its undeniably influence on the Western culture as a whole. No, what is really astonishing about The Simpsons is that Marge hasn't divorced Homer yet. So because really she should, if The Simpsons were rooted in any form of real life and didn't reset itself, it's sitcom style after every episode, it would be a harrowing drama about a woman trapped in an impossibly unhappy marriage. Okay, so in real life, like, is there Homer Simpsons like where you're like, does that ever happen? Like, okay, this guy just drinks beer and sits on the couch all day.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's an example of one partner not carrying their weight in the relationship and the other one kind of doing everything. I mean, Homer does make the money, Marge doesn't work. So, that's obviously an important part of the relationship, but she kind of carries the full responsibility of the family and he's like another child. So, yeah, that absolutely happens. But then you got to look at the other side too, which is that, but in reality, he loves her. He doesn't cheat on her. He drinks too much and eats too many donuts and is generally super lazy. But, no one's perfect. You got to pick the traits you can live with. And sometimes along with that low achieving personality also comes a dedicated, faithful spouse. So I think that is what Marge sees in him, is that he is you know, a, a good partner in that sense. So there's always an upside to everything. So I think, a lot of people though couldn't handle the partner not pulling their weight. And yes, that definitely happens.
You're really trying hard to justify like defending Homer. Like I wonder if that means you're a good lawyer.
Right? See, I can defend anyway. No, but when you see, like, I see a lot of cases where the spouse is very high achieving and makes a lot of money and really is high up in their profession. But on the other hand, they also are a meth addict and having affairs every day. And, so my point is just, that Homer's negatives, sometimes, his positives may outweigh that when you compare him to someone else.
All right, enough about Homer. I want to know if it's like based on someone, like maybe someone's like the writer's like father or like uncle. But okay, so
well,
moving
there's
on.
definitely a lot of people like Homer in real life.
All right. So I guess recently, I guess today, maybe yesterday's like the billionaires like summer camp. I think is Sun Valley. So FoxBusinessNews.com. Bill Gates opens up about divorce at summer camp for billionaires, blames himself in this report. Bill Gates opened up about his divorce from Melinda Gates during an annual exclusive conference for billionaires and some of the most powerful people in sports, technology, and media. Or what witness said the Microsoft founder was on the verge of tears. The revelation happened during Allen and Company's Sun Valley Conference, widely known as summer camp for billionaires in Sun Valley, Idaho. During the off-the-record Q&A sessions, after talking about climate change, Gates was asked by CNBC host Becky Quick about his messy divorce from his wife of 27 years. He fessed up to messing up, an attendee said. Another attendee described it as very moving, according to the newspaper. Others weren't impressed. One guest said Gates seemed agitated throughout his stay and brushed off others who tried to talk to him. Bill Gates was pretty much expletive, an attendee said. Let's see. Yeah, I guess so. It says, it included so in some reports, they said it included new revelations about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Gates has a more extensive relationship with the pedophile than previously reported and extramarital affairs. So, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, he's going through a lot, and not that that's an excuse to be a jerk to everyone, but look, it doesn't matter how much money you have. We're humans and emotions affect all of us. And you can have all the money in the world, but it's not going to buy you psychological peace and happiness. And it's not going to make you be able to handle difficult situations any better. So, it's just important to remember we're all people. Money doesn't make his divorce any easier. Actually, probably makes it harder.
Yeah, there's another one here. This is okay. So going to another a billionaire. I guess it's indirect, but so according to the dailybeast.com, the Trump org's implosion starts with a divorce. So okay, so the background here is so Trump's CPA, the CPA's son, and then the son's ex-wife. Okay, so this is how I'm setting up. I don't know if I'm doing a good job. I'm just reading it right. So Daily Beast reporter Jose Pagliari explains how Jennifer Weisselberg's divorce was a match that lit the Trump org on fire. So the Trump's organization is run like a criminal enterprise, and not just because mobs and whatnot and the Trump org are all shady. Despite that being true, you keep it in the family. It's all about trust. You're not allowed in unless you've been vetted, and if you're on top, it's because you've been there 20, 30 years. But here's the thing: these groups are built on insiders, but eventually someone becomes an outsider, enter Jennifer Weiselberg, ex-wife of Barry Weiselberg, and ex-daughter-in-law Alan Weiselberg. When she and Barry got divorced, she had it all. It being the paper trail that likely lays out of a lot of the criminality of this case. A question about if this is going to be the one thing that brings Donald Trump himself or his company down. A lot of it's going to hinge on it, and how much he knows personally. Yeah, I don't want to go on this, but so I'm just wondering, like, what could it possibly be that, like, the wife got shorted in the divorce and her kids? So yeah, you know any background on this? Because something happened where she got she got kicked out of like her apartment, and like maybe they cut off spousal support.
I don't know anything about that specific situation. But look, there's so many things that can happen behind the scenes and legal loopholes. And, some of it may be related to prenups and having terms that, because usually people with that kind of money and power have prenups. Maybe some terms in there that did that. Sometimes there's deals that are made on the side, like buyouts of certain things, or if you do this, then you have to get out, and I'm not saying this is what happened because I have no idea, but there is also blackmail. People know things about each other, and I see it frequently. If you don't do this, I'm going to tell everyone about this. And so, I mean, look, that does happen. And obviously you can fight for your legal rights and, say that the person's blackmailing you, but it doesn't mean they're not going to then go share your secrets, and that could affect you too. So there's so many options out there.
Who knew? Like, Trump had to just pay someone, and now it would have went away. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll find out when
That
this
stuff
all
happens.
I
have no knowledge. I'm not saying it did or didn't, but it does happen.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Okay. This one's a tax and divorce topic. I always like tax. Like, it's like every year, I feel like Congress switches law. But let's see this one. Okay. This is from wealthmanagement.com. So, tax court rules second marriage valid after multiple divorce attempts. Second wife deemed a surviving spouse eligible for marital deduction. In Grossman versus Memo, the tax court ruled on whether the descendant's second marriage was valid for purpose of the marital deduction by assessing the marriage under the New York law. However, tax court noted that it wasn't deciding whether it was required to apply New York law, a revenue ruling, or a decision by the U.S. Court of Appeals of the Second Circuit. Okay, so we'll keep going because that's just formalities. The question of validity developed from the descendant's multiple divorce attempts before his second marriage. After New York court declared the descendant's Mexican divorce invalid, the descendant obtained a religious divorce under rabbinical law. The descendant then married his second wife in Israel under Jewish law. The Israeli marriage certificate noted that the descendant was free to remarry because he was divorced. All right, I'm going to just go a little bit over here. The IRS argued that the tax court should apply New York law to whether second marriage was valid. The state asserted that revenue ruling and a second circuit division was the determinable law. Under IRS revenue ruling, as long as the marriage is valid in the place of celebration, the marriage is valid regardless of the law in the state where the parties lived. I thought it was going to be such a fun, interesting article. Okay, so at the end, it just okay, yeah.
Well, yeah, no, I mean that is interesting because that does happen. I've seen that happen where you may have a religious divorce or, but it's not a state divorce, or you have a religious wedding, but not an actual state wedding. And so the question is that are you legally married for purposes of California law if you just had a religious ceremony and not an actual state ceremony? And then for the divorce, same thing, because if you didn't divorce the right way for the state, you only divorced in the religious way, then is your second marriage valid or not? So that can happen a lot and it can cause some issues. And so the safest thing to always do is have the religious divorce and the state divorce. And same thing, have the religious marriage and the state marriage. Because if you just have the religious marriage and you don't have the state marriage, you may end up without any community property. And that that can really hurt you. And then same thing for the divorce. If you remarry, your second marriage might not be valid. So people have to think about all those things.
Yeah, just do it twice. It's just paperwork. It's like 2 more signatures probably.
Yeah, just make sure you do it the right way.
All right, let's get to the part of the show called Dear Emily, where people go and post. And Emily gives tips and advice on situations like, getting started in divorce, child custody, maybe some calculations. We've seen that in the past. And, like a big thing is like mental health nowadays. So let's see what we got today. So the first one's getting started one, separating from my wife of 2.5 years. Very, very sad today. Yesterday, I got hit with a bombshell that my wife of 2, almost 3 years wants to separate and divorce. For context, I'm 28, female, married to a female, 29. We were selling our house, a process that has been ongoing since June. Thankfully, my mother's letting myself and my 3 cats move into her basement, but I'm feeling so incredibly lost. I was blindsided with this. She struggled a lot with her mental health over quarantine, and she says she's been miserable for the last year. She said that she's broken and that there's nothing I can do to fix her. I try. I have no savings. I have no fallback plan. I never thought this was going to happen to us. We have a lease signed in Texas that starts in November. We live in Illinois currently now because I can't afford the lease on my own. But that's just extra at this point. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to turn. I don't know anyone married, let alone divorced. I think I just need a support group. Is there any advice? Maybe like a place where I can get support. I'm used to texting her and sending her TikToks all day. Maybe can I get some friends?
Oh, that's hard. I mean, because when you lose your marriage, you also lose a friend, and that's probably your best friend and who you talk to all the time. So that is really hard, but there are support groups for that, and she should definitely join one. And it is important to branch out and make other friends and, join interest groups, things that you're interested in. If you like, bowling, join a bowling league. It's find ways to connect with other people so that you don't feel as lonely and you aren't so dependent on that other person for social interaction.
All right, next post, getting started one too. If I move out, can you follow me? In Mississippi, if I move out of our home, it's actually my name, and I rent another house for myself, can my emotionally abusive spouse move with me against my will? I know I can't kick him out of the home we own. I can't find any information about whether I can legally keep him from pushing past me, entering and moving himself right into another home if I rent one to get some peace and quiet. Thanks for any help and advice on this.
That's a good question. I mean, in California, if you go rent something on your own and you're the only person on the lease, then yeah, your spouse wouldn't be entitled to be there. So, no, the spouse couldn't force his way into the new home that you're renting. It's not a marital home that you bought during marriage. He doesn't have any ownership in it. So, and he's not on the lease. So, and he's never lived there before. So she should, at least if she lived here, she'd be able to do that.
Okay, there's a mental health one. This next one, a marriage of 11 years ending. Mental health is an issue. I'm not really sure what to say or how to go about sharing my story. I'm 34. My wife and I have been together for 13 years, married for 11, and we're just beginning the divorce process. We own a home and financial assets, but nothing too major. We have no children aside from pets and are relatively civil about this so far. We plan to contact a mediator or attorneys to make sure things go smoothly. But we have only just recently landed on divorce is the best path forward. Mental health struggles have been a key factor throughout our marriage. My wife suffers from severe bipolar disorder and a general refusal to accept and commit to help. This has been the single hardest part of the decision for me, since she continues to have suicidal thoughts, self-deprecates on herself, and really seems to indicate she has no plan despite being the one who's pushing for divorce. It's something that I've had to accept that's out of my control. At the end of the day, I have to choose what's best for me, since life has become a waking nightmare of emotional distress. I'm not sure what else to say. I guess I'm just reaching out. I'm hoping to connect or vent or explain my situation. The effort to ease my anxiety. We moved across the country about 5 years ago, and I haven't made friends in that time. So essentially, I'm alone over here, and all my old friends and family of being reachable by phone and only during the day. I don't know, just feeling lonely, anxious, and scared.
That's hard, and mental health is tough, and it's hard to deal with, especially something like bipolar, because you know, it's unpredictable, and I'm sure causes both of them severe emotional distress. But it sounds like he's making the right decision by accepting the divorce and getting out. And I think in that situation, it's just, you got to have some distance. Like, you got to live apart, try to separate things as quick as you can, get into mediation, like I always recommend, and that'll be the quickest way to move on.
All right, the next one is about mortgages. Mortgages are always tough. You'd think like buying a house, it's like buying a house on a credit card. You may be simple, more simple, but it's not. So let's go through this one. Getting a mortgage while divorcing. I'm 40, male, a financial separation agreement and child custody agreement should be complete today. My ex-wife is closing on her new home, a mortgage come Monday. Lenders won't even talk to me when I disclose we're in the middle of the divorce. How in the hell am I supposed to purchase property? I make six figures. I have 200K in cash after the agreement. I'm looking at a mid 200K property. So it's not needing a huge mortgage. I'm completely debt free. The separation agreement clearly stipulates each party is able to purchase property and enter to new agreements without either party having a claim. Any lenders that you're aware of that'll work with people getting a divorce, I think you got to talk to a lender. But this happens a lot, right, Emily?
Yeah, it does happen a lot. There are lots of lenders out there that will talk to you. And if you're still technically married, the divorce hasn't been finalized yet, then you just have to have your spouse sign a quitclaim or an interspousal transfer deed. But there are a lot of lenders out there that will talk to you. I would search for ones that specialize in divorce situations, or actually, if you have a realtor who does a lot of divorce situations, they should know lenders that would be able to help in that situation. But because this does happen a lot.
All right, that's all the time we have for today. The last post. I know it's like it's super summer here. It's not super summer. Oh, it's super drought here in California. Does pools still have water in it?
Yeah, it's hot. It's very hot. You want to swim like every day right now. But the Ventura Court announced that they're going to go back to regular in-person hearings in September. So that's exciting. We're starting to get back to normal a little bit.
Do you notice when the temperature goes up like 100 degrees, like if it's like 100 degrees for like 90 days, you get more like calls for divorces? Is there a correlation ever?
I've never noticed a correlation with the temperature. I'll
I
try to pay
read
attention to that.
I read something like in I think New York, they had like a heat wave and murders just kept upticking. So I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, maybe because like
Wow.
yeah, like you get more like you get mad, but to a certain degree because your body's like I'm hot. So
That's crazy.
so we'll see. Okay, so thanks everyone for joining us on the Life After D podcast. See you next week. Bye.
Bye.